All right, man. Welcome to another episode of Subtopic. I am your host, Subtopic, and let's check this out.
Puerto Rico.
First, I want to make sure y'all knew my daughter was. My daughter was Logan Federico. Okay?
Sir. Yes.
Logan Federico. She was 22, visiting friends at the University of South Carolina. How many of y'all have kids? I'm just curious. Here's what I need you to do. When I tell you this story, think about your kids. Think about your child coming home from a night out with their friends, laying down, going to sleep, feeling somebody come in the room and wake them, and drag her out of bed, naked, forced on her knees, with her hands over her head, begging for her life, begging for her hero, her father, me, that couldn't be there. She was 5'3". She weighed 115 pounds. Bang! Dead.
Yeah, man. I don't have any kids. I was a seventh grade mathematics teacher for 1 year, and I saw those kids as my own, man. And if anything were to happen to any of those guys, I don't know what I would have done. But it goes against the natural order of things, obviously. Right? It's no duty of any parent to bury their children, right? It should be the other way around. Children should bury their parents, right? And it sucks that stuff like this happens. When we get to the reasons, right, we probably just we'll never know. I haven't heard about this. I saw this going viral, so that's why I'm checking this. Let's see where this is going, right? But you can hear in his voice, right? Man, I wish stuff like this didn't happen.
Gone. Why? Because Alexander Devontae Dickey, who was arrested 39 goddamn times, 25 felonies, was on the street.
So that's a problem, man. Right? To be arrested that many times, to have that many felonies, and it sets up this paradigm with law enforcement, right? It's like, no trust, right? What are these cops doing out here, right? That's how it originally, or the narration, that's how it goes, right? The cops are not doing their jobs right. That many times. At what point do we start holding judges accountable, bro? Prosecuting attorneys, the state, even. And who's to blame for this? Can we say that it starts there? Or is the people from the community to blame who elected such judges, into power, and such attorneys into power as well? When you have these ideas, right, where you can't trust your cops, right? This doesn't inspire anything, right? What's the point? The people have it within them, to inspire change, right? I'll tell you, one time I was at a courtroom, and it's all about money, man. That's all it is about. The truth of the matter is that without criminals, cops don't have a job, lawyers don't have a job, and there's no need for judges either. That's the sad reality of it, right? It's just like doctors. They need people to get sick. If not, they're out of a job. That's just how it is. You have to have those people, right? That's the promotion of this, right? And maybe that's what this is about here, right? That many times, going in through the systems. I'll tell you, one time I saw this. This was real life. I'm in a courtroom, and the guy is charged with, I don't know how many pounds of, the devil's lettuce. I'll say it like that, right? smoking substance, right? I don't know how many pounds this guy got caught with, right? He, as he gets called up, right? They have this docket. It's nothing like you see, on the TVs, bro. Like, it's the judges. They're like one after another. It's case by case. They're calling out by your last name, case number, right? This guy goes up. We're all there watching all this go down. The other people are waiting to get called on, right? That guy gets called, and he himself, he says, I'm guilty, he says. I'm guilty, I don't want to go through this process, right? I'm guilty. No, the judge cuts him off. No, hold on there, do you have any properties? Do you have any vehicles, any collateral, right? We can get you a judge, So that's all it is, man. It's a money scheme. All these probation things. Going to POs, having to wear ankle monitors, having to, some people even, they have to pee in a cup, right? And you're not even charged with anything drug related, right? And you have to pay for that. It's like $45 or something, $55, if I remember seeing that correctly. Don't ask me how I know this information, but I have done research on this. And everything I'm saying is true, by the way. It's a money-making scheme. That's all this is. They'll drag it out forever, right? And in this case, right, this. You can hear the frustration in this father's voice here. It's a flawed system. They say, I remember one judge said, it's not a perfect system, but this is the system that we got. Well, this is pathetic, right? If this is the best you can do, right? This is the best you can do. This. That's all it is, man. It's all about money. That's the sad reality of things. And if you don't have any money, they don't want to keep you behind bars. Because if you do the math, you call it, $10 a plate. Getting fed 3 times a day, that's $30 a day. Put that in a week, right? What's that? $210 a week in a month. Over $800 in a year. And this is all coming out of the taxpayer, on the taxpayer dime. We're electing these people into office. What are we doing? What are we doing, bro? Here where I'm from, I'll tell you, the local government, it starts there. But people, they're too afraid. That's the problem. They're too afraid to come together, right? And they won't like you either. Right, I go in there and I say, the grass is mine, this building is mine, the chair is mine, the chair that the judge sits on is mine, because I'm a taxpayer, right? I work hard, the cops' vehicles are mine. I'm a productive member of society, of the community that I'm in, right? But when you elect fools, that for them it's about money. What was that, bro? When I saw that, live, that man I'm guilty, he said. I don't want to go through all of this. No, the judge cut him off. Do you have any vehicles? Do you have any property? This is crazy.
How about that? How good are we doing for our family? How good are you doing for your kids? He should have been in jail for over 140 years for all the crimes he committed. You know how much time he spent in prison? A little over 600 days in 10 years. He's only 30 years old. He was committing 2.65 crimes a year since he was 15 years old. But nobody could figure out that he couldn't be rehabilitated. Well, you'd have to put him in prison to see if he could be rehabilitated. Isn't that the idea of prison? But no, my daughter wanted to be a teacher.
Well, it's and for the most part, it can do, it can be a force for good. Yes, I would not disagree there. But a lot of times what does happen, and this is also true, it turns, what is it called, misdemeanors into felons. It escalates. I've seen that a lot too. I think that, the biggest thing here is a lack of communication. I want to say, and it starts there. It starts there, this lack of everybody's on these, man. Everybody's on these, the whole world is here, right? Essentially, right? I can message somebody on the other side of the world through this thing, right? And when you cut off human connection, right, then people are just objects. And I'm not saying that that's what happened here, right? And I'm not going to say, it's video games or whatever. People will come up with all kinds of theories, right? But this, at that point, that many felonies, right? What is 2.5 a year? Unable to be rehabbed. Let's get him a professional, right? But even then, right, I'm reading the book 12 Rules for Life. Jordan Peterson says, he had a lot of clients that they were judge appointed. And what was the point, right? If they didn't want to cooperate, right, they're not going to, right? If you don't want to be there, if you don't want to seek change, you won't. You won't. What happened in that man's, who did this heinous crime, right? At one point he was a baby, right, in diapers, bro. What happened? Where did the ball fall? These are the questions we should be asking. Was the father there? Did he have a father figure role model? These are very, very difficult questions, If you want to get to the cause of what's happening. Why did this have to happen? It shouldn't have happened. We can all agree there. We wish it hadn't happened, right? But a lot of the times, it's not until it happens to them. And by them, I mean those in power, right? And that's not a threat. When it happens to somebody who can make a change, that's when you do see the change, right? But in this case, it's the people, and if this happens to one of us, it can happen to any of us, right? And this should be alarming to all of us. Are we sure the leaders we have elected into power, are we certain that they can act in the best interest of the community, right? And I'm not saying that that's their sole job, right? Maybe this stems, to a home issue, right? The bringing up, right? Maybe it's a parenting issue, right? Where did the ball fall here? Who dropped the ball? Why is this happening? I literally live 5 minutes away from the border. The Rio Grande River is just that way. About 5 minutes away. On a vehicle. I'll tell you, you hardly hear about stuff like this. Now, you will hear it, when it's like drug-related stuff. Now, don't get me wrong. But you never hear about, mass killings, as like here in the U.S. There's something there, man. Something there, something's off. Maybe God is apt. I don't know. Let me know in the comments, man. What do you all think? What do you all think,
Finally figured it out 2 weeks before she was executed. And I haven't heard a damn word from Byron Gibson in South Carolina. Not one word. 4 months, no communication. His biggest concern was that he was pissed off about my interview and how I made him look on the Fox News channel with Trey Gowdy. How pathetic is that? That we're letting our 22-year-old kid visiting friends. It's all she ever wanted to do was visit friends. And she literally was executed while on her knees begging for her life. Her name's Logan Federico, not Irina. And you will not forget her. I promise you. You will be sick and tired of my face and my voice until this gets fixed. I will fight until my last breath for my daughter. You need to fight for the rest of our children. The rest of...
And he's not wrong there, man. If the judge had done his or her job the first time, making sure, that individual gets locked up, gets the help that they need. At the same time, if you care about your community, right, you want to keep your community safe. You got elected, right. The people in your community gave you the power to act in the community's best interest, but you didn't. fulfill your role. Roles at that point, you know, if assuming that that individual wasn't elected multiple times, this wouldn't have happened. This would not have happened. And I understand, you know, mercy first time, right? Misdemeanor, you know. But when it's multiple like this, in this case, right, can you, at what point do you say, you know, well, this is, clearly it's the judge's fault. And that's what this is here. And then when you criticize them, they don't like it, right? They forget that they're public servants. You're there to serve the public. You're a servant. Your job, literally, is to get on your knees and ask how you can serve. It seems that you forget that, you know, however that sounds to you. You're a public servant. That's your job is to serve. You're there to take shit, to hear shit, and you will take it, right? Because that's your job. And then it's to figure it out. It cannot become personal. You ran on promises. You didn't do your job. Now you're going to take shit. Don't forget, you know. I'll go back, you know, some might sound cliche, right? Spider-Man, we know, with great power comes great responsibility, right? The people in your community gave you power. They said, this person. And you failed. 40 sometimes, 30 sometimes, whatever it was. You were a multiple. I don't know. I don't know this case. I don't know who it was. I don't know who the arresting people were the first time, who the judge was, you know, who oversaw the first case. I don't know. But there needs to be accountability there. And I think at some point, you know, when you don't do what you were elected to do, you should also, you know, serve time for not doing what you were elected to do. They gave you power, the people. It's not enough when you feel this bad, you know, to just elect somebody else. You need to put, you know, fear into public figures, right? Making sure you want to run into this. With this comes great responsibility. No, nobody does anything. Nobody does anything. Nobody's accountable. There should be accountability here. To remove the bar, you know, whatever that judge, the credentials, right? Take it away, strip them something. But this is sad, bro. And this is just in North Carolina, right? There's 50 states. There's so many counties in the state, so many districts, right? This is pathetic, you know. It's pathetic. And I don't have any kids, you know, and just looking at everything going on, I'm not inspired to have any kids. This doesn't inspire me, right? Looking at everything going on.
The innocents.
And I know I'm not the only one, but let me know in the comments, man. Let me know what you think.
Stop protecting the people that keep taking them from us. Please. You have the power. We put you in the power to do what you have to do.
Exactly.
We're asking you, we're begging you all to stop this. 39 crimes in 10 years, 25 felonies. Can anybody here explain to me, well, how possibly he could be on the street? Possibly be on the street. How is it possible? I could sit down in a room and I could explain the whole.
Can you imagine the spit in the face, you know, to the officers, bro, on the field there, having to risk their lives, you know, day in and day out. Some of them have families. I don't recommend. I never have. Anybody who serves in such roles, the best thing is to not have a family, you know. But some of them do. To make ends meet in an economy that's struggling, right? A lot of us are here, you know. I'm literally living paycheck to paycheck, bro. I cannot, you know, I can't do it, you know. I wouldn't be able to. I don't have the means. But a lot of these, you know, they have a family. They're trying to make it work. They don't know if they're gonna see their loved ones. You know, some of them have kids. They don't know if they're gonna come back to them. And then to go through this. You did your job. You arrested the individual. Justice, to some degree, was served up to that point, and then you get an incompetent judge who, for whatever reason, right? You know, this man here is asking very good questions, Mr. Federico, and I'm with him 100%, man. Is this a Republican Democrat issue? This is a common sense issue, it seems to me. Did it once, show some mercy, right? Rehabilitation might be possible. Twice, hey, you fell, again, you're walking on thin ice, right? 3 times, okay, so now we need to have a discussion, right? I don't know how these judges work, right? You know what I mean, right? I'm coming from a mathematics teacher perspective, right? 4th time, get the parents involved. As a teacher, right? The metaphor is there. At what point, this sucks, bro. This sucks. For everybody. But they're not going to do anything. They're not going to do anything to the judge. And I would want to see accountability,
Whole process of how it failed, how South Carolina failed, Logan. Okay? How lack of communication. What y'all did, you woke up a beast and you pissed off the wrong daddy.
Yeah.
Because I'm going to put it out there. And I'm not going to be quiet until somebody helps. Logan deserves to be heard. Everyone on this panel deserves to be heard.
Yeah.
And we will. Trust me. My daughter laid on the floor for 7 hours before somebody in that house recognized that something was wrong. And that career criminal, an hour later, went on a spending spree with her debit card. When they saw his face on a video, they didn't have to do a check. He was arrested so many times, they knew who he was. They knew exactly where to go get him.
That's sad, bro.
Pathetic.
Yep.
Absolutely pathetic that I'm here today.
Yep.
Thank you for your time.
They knew who he was. This sucks, man. It's important that during times like this, as upsetting as this is, and I applaud the father. If it had been me, I would have lost my shit, I wouldn't have known, I'm a Christian man, and one of my faults is I do cuss. I do. This is just how the Lord made me, man. I'm working on it every day, but I would have lost my shit, man. I would have asked for, restraint, time like this, right? But I can't begin to imagine what this loss is. It's pathetic. And I will be following up on this, to see, to make sure, that hopefully these judges are accountable. Whoever did this crap of letting that individual go. But that's all I have today, man. I was just going to react to this briefly. I hadn't seen this before. I saw that it was, on trending on social media, so I wanted to check it out. But let me know what you all think in the comments. And I'll see you all in the next one. Peace.